You're listening to Let's Stay Together, a podcast about Fruits Basket by Natsuki Takaya. I'm Ellen.
And I'm Kayla.
And today we're recording episode 33, which is, we're discussing the finale of the beach arc.
Yes, we reached the end of the beach.
End of the beach.
And end of volume 11.
It's the middle of one of the collector's ones, though. It's the middle of volume 6 of the collector one. But yeah, it's the end of the original volume 11. So we're going to do our summary discussion and spoilery discussion like we always do, chapter 64 and 65. Chapter 64 opens with Tohru, Yuki, Haru, Kisa, and Hiro going through fireworks. It turns out that Momiji bought them, and he wants to set them off tomorrow. And Tohru wonders why tomorrow, and Yuki's like, well, we're planning to leave the day after tomorrow. And Tohru suddenly freaks out, and then Yuki asks if she forgot, and she says that she did, and then she thinks, I feel like so much happened, and time just flew by, and I agree with that. I feel like so much happened. Yuki looks down, eyes closed, and says, Momiji said we should at least end our vacation with a pleasant memory. After all, the way things ended up, we might have made you very lonely. Then we see Haru and Hiro's reactions kind of looking at Tohru, and Kisa grabs Tohru's arm, and they all look sort of like concerned or apologetic or like bashful in their own ways. You can determine which adjective goes with which character. Tohru tears up and says, I was happy. And she remembers the watermelon smashing extravaganza from earlier and continues, being able to spend summer with everyone like this. I was really so very happy, so precious time, she thinks. And then we see a very, very small panel of her looking down, sort of upset, and her mouth is very small. And then she suddenly cheers up and smiles and says, fireworks! I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, Yuki says, and they both smile. We'll launch them with a bang that rends the darkness, Haru adds, and Yuki is like, we don't have any fireworks that big, just so you know. Hiro suddenly remembers that it's time for the Mogeta special on TV, and Kisa, much to Hiro's dismay perhaps, reminds him that Momiji wanted to join as well, so Tohru goes to get Momiji. Precious time, she thinks. That's what this is to me, and I'm sure that it is for everyone else too. Even for Yuki-kun and Kyo-kun. When Yuki-kun came here, something changed. And Kyo-kun too. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's a very good thing. Tohru seems to pause again, frowns, and wonders, what about me? She stops in the hallway, like at a corner, when she overhears Momiji talking to Kyo. Tomorrow you're not going to see Akito, right? Momiji asks, and Kyo is like, right. And Momiji's like, really? That's great. If I thought that, would you be mad? Momiji asks, and Kyo looks at him out of the corner of his eye. I wondered why all of you would leave Tohru hanging and go see Akito, Kyo says. But yeah, if you chose her over Akito, Akito would get mad. It would just put her in more danger. You all were, even Yuki, you were all protecting Tohru from Akito. When you say it like that, Momiji says, you make it seem like we're doing something very good, but we're not. I was wrong from the beginning. Even though I left her, I still want to make memories with Tohru. I'm so selfish, I can't help it. I just like Tohru so much. We see Tohru's reaction. She crosses her arms over her chest and blushes and cries a little. Such kind, warm people, she thinks. Kyo smiles, a small smile, and says, well, Squirt, I'm selfish too. And he looks over toward the corner as if he hears Tohru behind it. Momiji's like, he's like, nothing. And then reminds him about the anime. In an adorable chibi panel, we see Tohru quickly wipe her eyes and take a deep breath. And then she walks around the corner to find them. In another adorable chibi panel, Momiji notices her with his bunny ears up. Momiji's like, I was scared. Kyo was blackmailing me. Kyo is like, what are you trying to pull? Tohru thinks, I want to do something more. Just like everyone has given me so much, I wish there was something I could do for them. I wish I could help them. And we transition away to the guest house. In Akito and Shigure chat, Akito is kind of like slumped with his back turned to Shigure. Shigure asks why Akito brought Kureno. Does Akito like Kureno so much that he can't let Kureno out of his sight, lest someone else catch a glimpse of him? No reason, Akito says. He doesn't seem quite right recently. I just thought a vacation would be good for him. And Shigure smirks and suggests that Kureno might be stressed. Stress? Akito asks. From what? That's stupid. If anyone has built up stress, it's me. And Shigure asks why. Like, what is causing Akito to be stressed? You revolt me, Akito says. You're not nice at all. Not nice at all. Aren't I being nice to you? Shigure asks. Be nicer. Nicer, nicer, Akito says, turning to Shigure and raising up on his knees so that he's kind of like higher up than Shigure. You used to be much nicer. You only looked at me. As it should be. At me. Shigure looks distant, eyes sort of glazed over, darkly, like we've seen before in other panels. I don't know, not necessarily with him. I was thinking it reminded me of, like, Kisa's mom and some other people. Those, like, kind of dark, like, distant eyes. Mm-hmm. Akito has what looks like or Shigure has a memory of what looks like holding hands. Akito looks shocked and scared, pupils narrowed. You do, that woman, Akito continues, holding Shigure's face. You really, But Kureno interrupts their argument, knocking on the door, saying that there's been a call from the main house. We see Akito's hand shaking near Shigure's face before he steps away to talk to Kureno. Acting in without permission, who does she think the head of the family is? Akito says to Kureno at the door. Did she throw another tantrum? Ren-san, I mean, Shigure asks. What business is it of yours? Akito asks, and Shigure says, such suspicion, really, Akito. I don't know what I do to deserve it. Kureno, we're leaving, Akito says, passing him and going into the hallway, ignoring what Shigure said. Shigure and Kureno exchange a look, and we see Akito changing quickly and saying, that woman, and he holds his face in his hands. We cut away to the beach house, and Momiji looks through the fireworks and smiles. This is another really great scene where it's just like Momiji kind of like acting. It's just panels of him. Mm-hmm. So Momiji looks through the fireworks and he smiles, and he puts them down and he pats them, and then he starts to walk down the hall. And as he passes a window, he notices Akito outside.
The nice Dutch angle on the shot of Akito.
Yes, a terrifying. It's very intimidating. Akito, what's the matter? It's so late, Momiji says. I'll come to see Tohru Honda-san, Akito says, eyes narrowed with a sinister smile. Tohru, as if she realizes what's going on, sits up in bed, and she thinks that she's been thinking about what she can do to help the jyuunishi, and she decides to take a walk to cool her head. Back outside, Momiji has come outside and stands between Akito and the house. Akito says that something came up and he needs to leave, but he hasn't seen Tohru yet. Momiji says that she's probably asleep, and Akito demands that she be woken up. You can't, Momiji says, spreading his arms. Akito, you're mad right now, aren't you? When you're mad, you take it out on others. You can't take it out on her. Akito, what's wrong? Why are you so mad? Did something happen? Akito looks away. Something, he says. What would you do if I told you? Do you want to know what I have to deal with? Do you want to understand me? Akito looks back at Momiji. Why? Because I feel sick, Akito screams and punches Momiji in the face. Momiji stumbles and holds his cheek. Understand? Are you happy now? You want to look down on me? You just want to analyze me with your holier-than-thou logic? Akito says and grabs Momiji's shirt collar. Please stop, Tohru calls, suddenly arriving, and she runs over and stands between Akito and Momiji. Stop, Akito says. That sounds like an order. That's terrible. You're a horrible person, aren't you? Akito says with a smile. Behind her, Momiji holds his face in his hands. But Tohru Honda, I came here to see you. No matter what kind of rude behavior you show me, there's something I want to tell you. Akito grabs Tohru by the face and pulls her close. Don't get conceited, you little bitch, Akito says. Let me tell you, if you think you can save Yuki or Kyo, you should be ashamed of your arrogance. I'll tell you the truth. Kyo will be confined just as soon as he leaves high school. Tohru is shocked as Akito continues. Just like the previous cat before him, for his whole life, until he dies. And Yuki will return to the family compound with me. All of them will live and die with me. All the jyuunishi will live in the same home, following the same path. No one comes in, no one will be stolen away. Always remaining the same. Akito looks up as if imagining the future and continues, a happy future, an endless banquet, unchanging, and I won't let you join us. We see Toru's shocked face, Akito still gripping it, and that's the end of chapter 64.
Dun, dun, dun.
I didn't breathe that whole time that I was talking.
It was very dramatic. I
Or reading it. Yes. Thank you. I was like, how am I going to act this time? My acting is very important to me. We're just laughing because it's scary. I mean...
We're laughing because everything's terrible.
Yeah, basically. It's okay. It's going to be fine later. The next chapter, chapter 65, picks up exactly where 64 left off. And we see Toru's memories, or like Toru imagining Yuki and Kyo in the gate to the main house. And she remembers some of the things that Akito said before, like just now. And we see that Akito is still holding Toru's hair kind of like below her cheek, as if he like lowered his hand through her hair. Would that really be happy, she asks, eyes wide, and we can see there are tears in her eyes as she asks, locking people up, forcing people back to the Soma house? Being unchanging, she thinks, and then adds, is that really what you want? She thinks, but that would stop everyone as they're trying to move forward, everyone's feelings. Would you stop talking as if that's a bad thing? Akito says, eyes narrowed, looking away. Our way of life is different from yours, outsider. Who do you think you are to judge our ways with your storybook values? And it starts to rain, and Toru asks, who are you? Akito-san isn't the rooster, she thinks. Akito-san is different, a different existence. What's your place in the zodiac, she asks, grimacing, her fist clenched. She remembers her mother telling her the zodiac story. Once upon a time, God told all the animals. God? She thinks, realization dawning as Akito takes her cheek again. To them, I am the closest thing there is to God, Akito says. Akito swipes his nails across Tohru's cheek, leaving jagged scratches. The one who controls the zodiac, the master of their souls, that is who I am, Akito says. Fortunately, Kureno arrives and calls to Akito, worried that Akito will catch a cold. I'm sorry, Kureno, I just had to say hello to her. I'll go back now. Oh yes, Akito says, leaning all over Kureno's shoulder. This is Kureno Soma, the rooster. Pleased to meet you, Kureno says, and Tohru's like, pleased to meet you too. Remember this, Tohru Honda-san, Akito says, coming back over to her and running his hand through her hair again. In the end, they'll all come back to me, because we cannot be apart. So stop trying to destroy our happiness. Stay out of it. Be a good girl. Otherwise, you'll be punished. Akito and Kureno leave, and Tohru slumps to the ground. Akito-san is God, she thinks. The one who stands above them all. Is that why no one can go against him? Then the curse is... She remembers Akito's words. The master of their souls. We cannot be apart. The curse, the mysterious change that bind them all the members of the zodiac. The curse that binds everyone, she thinks. Her eyes suddenly widen and she thinks of Akito. The curse that binds everyone binds God. Suddenly a hand takes her cheek and she snaps out of her thoughts, and it's Tohru and Shigure who have come. Turns out that Momiji snuck away to get them while Akito was with Tohru. And as a side note, the way that Hattori pats Tohru's shoulder after they stand up is so tender and sweet. I don't know why. He checks her face and then they stand up, and then he reminds her, she asks where Momiji is. And Hattori says that he's here and tells her not to worry. And she turns to see Momiji standing in the rain, holding his hands at his sides, his hair covering his eyes, and he looks down. Tohru runs over to him and asks if he's okay. And Momiji looks completely shaken when he looks up, and he starts to apologize, but then looks away and starts to cry. Such pretty tears, Tohru thinks, and she hugs him. Shigure says not to let him catch cold, and he says Momiji did his best. Momiji did his best, didn't he? Compared to him, those young people. You mean compared to him, us adults, Hattori says. Inside the beach house, we see that Kyo, Yuki, and Haru have been watching. I don't know for how long, but they've definitely seen the end of what happened, if not all of it. Haru says, I told you Momiji would go get the adults. He's holding Kyo's arm, and Kyo suddenly jerks away. I'm so pathetic, Kyo says, and walks off. I disgust myself. So even he sometimes thinks that he's pathetic after all, Yuki says. And Haru is like, sarcasm? And Yuki says that he's being serious. I know how he feels. Protecting someone isn't always as simple as it seems, Haru says. Yuki remembers Rin's angry face from their meeting the other day and says it can't be. And Haru's like, And Yuki says, looking dismayed, never mind, you're right. Protecting someone isn't simple. In Toru's bedroom, Momiji and Kisa sleep together, and Toru sits on the bed watching them. She touches the bandage on her face, and we see Momiji's bandaged face too, tears still in the corner of his eyes. And Toru smiles. And we see Kyo looking down and Yuki looking up in the narration. I want to protect her. I want to protect her above all else. And we transition to the next day. Momiji cheers that the rain is cleared up, so it's time for fireworks. And Yuki's like, are you sure it's still light? Momiji's like, I'm sure. I can't wait until night, right? And Toru's like, yes. And they smile together. Hiro comments on their bandages, and Toru is like, last night we were out walking and fell, right, Momiji-kun? And he's like, yeah. And they share kind of a bashful smile together. Yuki, Kyo, and Haru don't comment, but they do take notice, and Momiji adds, we're like birds on a wire, and someone corrects him to mean birds of a feather. Kyo is like, are we doing this or what? And Momiji is like, leave it to me. I've decided the top batter. Here we go. And it turns out to be this snake thing that just fizzles and smokes. Is that supposed to be fun? Kyo asks, and Toru is like, but you have to try it at least once. It's really worth seeing. And he's like, I can't see anything through all the smoke.
Intently, they're all watching it.
They're like, we're enjoying this. Definitely enjoying it. It's pretty great. This is the levity we needed after everything else that happened. Toru asks if Kyo's seen it before, and he says that when Shisho found out that he'd never done fireworks, he went out and bought a ton of them. I couldn't believe there was anything so fun, Kyo says. And we see a memory of Shisho with baby Kyo setting off some kind of dangerous firework that people let children hold in the 90s, apparently. Because what is that, anyway?
It looks like an extreme sparkler.
Basically. It looks like a sparkler with things just exploding out of it instead of burning delicately at the end. Yeah. So Kyo asks if she's done fireworks with her mom, and she said that she has, and it was fun, but she adds, but it seems as if mom sees fire fighting, her blood boils, and Kyo's like, her Yankee blood. Haru picks up another set of fireworks and says he wants to do these. So he opens one up and points it at Kyo, and Yuki reads the instructions. Put it in a bottle, point it away from you, and light the fuse. It says not to hold it in your hands or point it at people or buildings. And Kyo is like, he's pointing it at me. It's all right. I'm sure that you can dodge it, Kyo. I believe in you, Haru says. He's like, don't believe in me. Momiji suddenly lights firecrackers and essentially all hell breaks loose. Tohru sees everyone playing and arguing and starts to think, Shisho-san didn't show Kyo the beauty of fireworks so that he could spend his future in confinement. And I know that Yuki-kun hasn't refrained from fighting because he wants to go back to the Soma house. I have a feeling that in the bottom of their hearts they all have a wish to be free. She looks down and thinks, but the curse that binds them keeps them from achieving their wish. And then she looks up determined and thinks, I want to break that curse. I know it's probably not my place, and saying you want to protect doesn't mean that you can. And she remembers Akito's words, stay out of it. But even so, her thoughts continue. If there's a way to free everyone from their chains so they can cry and laugh with all their hearts, even if it means I'll be punished, I want to break the curse. Yuki hands her a sparkler, and they end up sitting together. This also looks like a dangerous sparkler, like the one that, that Kyo was holding. But
it's a little less intense, but still...
still somewhat dangerous.
Yeah. Even regular sparklers always, like, burned me as a kid.
Listen, I got burned as a sparkler, and I still have a scar. I got burned by a sparkler, not as a sparkler.
When I was a sparkler.
I still have a scar on the top of my head from getting burned by a sparkler as a child. So
yeah, I always loved them as a kid, but I'm like holding them, I'm like, ow, ow, ow. Because the little
ow.
sparks are like hitting my wrist.
This was one of the ones that was like wrapped in paper, and I think like the paper burned my head. But if I part my hair a certain way, you can actually see it. Anyway, the point is, stay safe, children.
Yes.
Don't let your kids hold bottle rockets like Haru. So, okay, Yuki hands her a sparkler and they end up sitting together. Tohru says that everyone seems to be having good fun, and Yuki comments that they've never all gotten together to have fun like this. It's strange, isn't it? He says, summer comes every year, but the same summer never comes twice. I too treasure the time that I can spend with you like this, Honda-san. Momiji comes over and asks if he can sit with them and ends up sitting down, and they try to get Momiji tries to get Kyo to come over, and he's like, shut up. So Yuki manipulates him into sitting by saying, in that case, shall I relinquish my seat to you, stupid cat-san? And Kyo's like, what the hell? I can sit on my own without you giving me your seat. And then he sits down beside them. Yuki sighs, and Tohru and Momiji look surprised. Tohru smiles. We close out the chapter with the gang all watching fireworks and Momiji cheering. Tohru thinks, I want to protect them. I want to protect the path that everyone is walking on with all the power I can muster. That's the end of chapter 65. Whew, we made it.
We made it through the beach.
Yeah, the beach. We made it through this awful slog, this awful, like, abusive Akito situation.
Yeah. But there were fireworks at the end, so it's okay.
Everybody loves fireworks.
Right?
That's the best part of that's like the highlight of the summer sequence of any manga, isn't it? You have to watch fireworks with your love triangle. That's what happened here, right? I mean, oh, it was a good time. All right. My first discussion topic is fuck yeah, Tohru. Fuck yeah. But would you like to kick off this discussion other than that?
Well, this isn't really a discussion point, but I love the way the god reveal plays out, because it's so just good. Like the zodiac reveal in like the first chapter. Yeah, with the like memory of with Tohru remembering her mother telling part of the story like over top of the reveal.
Yes. I like how she realizes it first, like as if she never thought about it, and then when she remembers that, it's like putting everything together. I like that also the way that Akito like acts is in that scene is also like contrasted with her mom. Like the story that her mom tells is like God invited all the animals, and Kito's like I control all of them. This is kind of interesting. Yeah,
also like I guess I never really paid that much attention to the way she phrases it, but like afterward when Tohru's thinking about the curse, she realizes that like God is bound up in that curse as well.
Yeah, she really like her dialogue here, I think, is used to explain like Takaya's thing that she's been trying to communicate about the curse, which is that it's a bond between all of the jyuunishi and God, right? So, and it's interesting how she puts it together, like how it plays out, how she puts everything together in that scene, in that moment. Yeah, and also realizes that the things that Akito said, that things need to remain unchanging, are standing in the way of everybody growing, which is really interesting. Yeah. In this case, Tohru is now the voice of Takaya, whereas before I feel like I was saying a lot that Kyoko is the voice of Takaya.
Yeah. That's like how Tohru just like like without even thinking, starts like protesting. They're like, "Is that really happy?" Like,
yeah,
Akito's saying, like right to Akito's face. Like,
yeah, it's crazy. Well, she's not afraid of Akito like everybody else is, so
yeah,
so she can do that. This is the second time she stood between Akito and something bad happening. So
yeah.
I forgot that Akito straight up punched Momiji in the face. I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit, when that
Yeah.
happened. Made me uncomfortable a little bit.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit
supposed
in the previous chapters about the throwaway line that like Akito doesn't like Momiji very much, and he's just like, it's okay.
Is it?
Yeah,
Punched in the face.
Yeah,
but I like how it's interesting because Momiji tries. You said it, I think, in the last episode probably, that Momiji tries to. It was probably in the spoilers, but Momiji tries to talk to Akito like a like a normal person. Is like, what's wrong? Why don't you tell me what's wrong? And Akito's like, fuck you, basically.
Yeah.
With your holier than thou logic, which I had to Google.
Yeah, yeah, like and we've kind of seen this from Akito before, where like any kind of like attempt to like connect on a human level, he treats as like looking down on him.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, like really aggressively like responds to that.
It's very strange. Even like Toru's reaction to them being all brought to the house and like confined and stuff. Her reaction's like a normal person, where she's like, is that really okay? And Akito's like, of course it's okay. Why are you even questioning me? This like normal human connection and like experience, I guess, does not apply to Akito. Akito actively goes against that.
Yeah, like we've talked a little. There's kind of a theme at Akito's part in these chapters of like Akito talking about like being like totally confident in his like point of view and everything, but obviously being really insecure about it by how he reacts to like any slight like questioning or threat to his like worldview.
Yes, I thought it was kind of interesting that this scene that we're talking. I mean, I guess we're just jumping straight to it, but this scene that we're talking about between Tohru and Akito and Momiji is kind of spurred by this like argument that Akito had with Shigure. And like Akito refers to a woman, like maybe that's referring to Tohru. And then Akito like runs off and is like, I'm going home. And then actually goes to demands to talk to Tohru, which is very interesting. So Akito is still not over. It's still thinking that everything's fine. I'm confident that I fixed all the problems. I like sassed Kyo. I sassed Yuki. I took care of everything. But then still at the end has to go and be like, don't get involved.
Yeah.
To Tohru.
Yeah, I think these are really the most we've seen of Akito. Like, beforehand, it's mostly been just like little bits and pieces, and like him showing up to, threaten Yuki and stuff.
He has to ruin everything. Yes.
Yeah. And like, I wouldn't go so far as to say it humanizes Akito, but we get a much more vulnerable Akito than we've seen before.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because like in these moments where Akito is like being physically strong. Akito is the most vulnerable, actually.
Yeah, like this is like some of the worst behavior we've seen from Akito, just this whole arc, but it's also basically like we see how much it's coming from how very delicate Akito's like worldview is.
Yes. As soon as one thing goes against what Akito thinks, Akito takes steps to try to change it back to like the way that things are quote like supposed to be, the way that Akito thinks things are supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like seeing Kyo being happy with Tohru, he then has to go and like bring Kyo in and sass him, and harass him and try to kind of set the record straight that Kyo is going to be confined and he shouldn't get his hopes up. Here it's like this sense that Tohru has some kind of motive, that like that she has some kind of motive. Akito thinks that Tohru is trying to purposefully keep the jyuunishi away from him, and so goes to try to take care of that right away in the same way that Akito always does, right?
Yeah.
By physically threatening her, and also Momiji.
Yeah.
Who tried to protect her.
Yeah, and you can tell at the end of every scene, Akito thinks he's accomplished what he's gone out to do, but it's made obvious by what follows that, if anything, he's made it worse for himself.
Yes, every single time. Which is pretty great.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it with Yuki and with Kyo before. But like here especially, it's like Tohru didn't even know Kyo was going to be confined until this moment.
Right.
Tohru had no ambitions of doing anything except spending time with her friends.
She was just like, I
But
want
then
to
after
protect
this point,
them.
she says, I want to break the curse.
The curse, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's exactly what happened. And it's what happened both times with Yuki and Kyo, where Akito's like, you don't love her, and there's no hope for you. And Yuki's like, actually, I love her. And Kyo's like, oh, actually, I love her too.
Yeah.
So I found a human connection with another person. I don't need you.
Yeah. And even on a more minor level with everyone else, we've seen them talking about, like, we see a little bit with Momiji here, where he's just like, I like Tohru so much, I want to go spend time with her. And, like, the other ones who are, like, the time they've been forced to spend with Akito is making them realize how much they want to get back and away from Akito.
And meanwhile, Akito's like, well, I've just told them how much they need me, you know? I showed them.
Yeah.
The way that Akito, like, saunters over to Tohru at the end of that conversation, too, after being like, oh, this is Kureno. Anyway, bye. Like, don't get involved, and then leaves. It's like, it's very, very much reeks of this, like, okay, like, I've taken care of the problem now.
Yeah.
That, you know, feels more confident. Arrives in a panic and then leaves in this sort of, like, false confident.
Yeah.
Falsely
unaware
confident
that
way.
It's gone way, way more away from him than it started.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, everything's unraveling. Or at least it's about to. So that chapter 65 is the exact middle of the series, which is why we're having our mid-series like special next time. So this is that's the event that's now setting everything in motion. Yeah,
the beach is a turning point for many, many characters. So.
The beach, yes.
Beach.
I wonder if there's a drinking game out there for every time we say beach. I mean,
yeah.
If not, it's not like too late to start. I mean, yeah. It's definitely a bad idea. Anyway, yes. So yeah, that seems terrifying on multiple levels. But I do. Yeah. It's interesting how wrong Akito actually is.
Yeah.
About the world. I think it's interesting that you have the person, basically like the person who gives Tohru her worldview, has given Tohru this sort of what to expect in the world up to this point. Like her mother is the one that's like the voice that she's thinking of when Akito is revealing all this stuff. Like as if Akito is just overturning all the things that she, you know, that have been established, right?
Yeah.
Akito fucks everything up.
Yeah. And we've it just made me think, we've talked a bit about like the different versions of the Zodiac story we hear.
Yes.
This is almost sort of a new version of that.
V3,
like her,
I think.
like a new like layer added to the version she heard from her mother. So.
Yes, it's very interesting. So I guess we talked about that. I mean, unless there's something else to say, but Momiji goes off and runs off and gets them. The adults.
Yeah, I love Momiji.
I love Momiji too.
In these chapters, like, there's a lot of good Momiji in these chapters. Should we talk about Momiji?
Yeah, we should. It's his time to shine.
Yeah. So first we have this scene with him and Kyo in the hallway, which is a nice scene.
So good.
Yeah.
I love it. They're like, I like how we mentioned it already briefly, that he's like, I want to spend time with Tohru too. And Kyo's like, I'm selfish too. And it's very charming.
Yeah. It's cute. We've talked a bit about their relationship before and how they have kind of a sort of like picking on each other sibling kind of relationship.
Yeah, they have a kind of, I would describe it as a brotherly relationship.
Yeah. But like they obviously kind of care about each other in a different way some of the other somas do. So.
Yeah, it seems like that. Kyo did help him find bugs. Tell him how to find bugs.
Yeah. It seems to be like, we talked about it, it seems like Kyo almost feels like he has some kind of responsibility over Momiji. Because like when he first showed up, where he's like, don't do that, come over here, and that kind of stuff. And Momiji obviously tries to like kind of pick at Kyo to get him to to realize things and do things. So
yeah,
I think this is one of the more of a heart-to-heart than they usually have, which is nice.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it seems like more of a little like a tender scene. Sometimes, usually they're kind of like, picking at each other, like brotherly, teasing each other, but in a kind sort of a way that comes from knowing someone really well.
Yeah.
In this case, it's like, and the fact that they're even alone and talking to each other in the first place when everybody else is kind of together is kind of interesting. Like they're off, probably ran into each other and they're off by themselves having this little chat, and it's sweet. I think it does show. I like how a couple chapters ago Miji was like, "You've gotten nicer," and I feel like this is like exemplified here to Kyo.
And yeah, and like until Tohru shows up and like Momiji jokes about Kyo blackmailing him, that's like just kind of a normal friendly conversation. None of their like usual
nonsense. Yes.
Yeah.
Tomfoolery. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah. I like how it starts with like Momiji asking if he's going to see Akito again, and he says no, and he's like, "Really? That's great." And then like, if I said that, would you be mad? Like,
it took me a second to like kind of understand what it was that he was trying to say with that, but it's like, yeah, it's great that he doesn't have to go, I guess, instead of like the way that like Tohru perceives it as like Kyo being invited to go, and that's great. But I think like Momiji gets why Kyo wouldn't want to go. And he's like, that's great. So exciting. Momiji understands things. He's very empathetic. I think Kyo does too. I think they have that in common.
Yeah, I think they're both pretty like kind of instinctual people as far as like understanding things.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of interesting that they're together, and then we see, we've been hearing, and now we finally saw how much Akito also doesn't like Momiji. So like the two of them, maybe they have that in common. Like maybe they know that about each other, that Akito doesn't really like them. Maybe that's why they have this bond. That's conjecture on my part. But...
Yeah, like Momiji would also think it was pretty great if he didn't have to go and see Akito.
Yeah, totally. I think all of them would think that. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of funny how he's like, I guess it doesn't come through as envy, but maybe a little bit envious of Kyo not having to go.
Also, like, we're talking about Momiji, but I like how Kyo like acknowledges that even Yuki is like they're trying to protect Tohru in this scene.
Yeah, that was also great. That was the end. So like
it's a good moment for Kyo.
Yes. Oh yeah, sorry. It was in that scene. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it was a good moment for Kyo. I think Kyo has finally got his shit together in terms of like how, like we've been seeing Yuki kind of being like, no, I'm not gonna do this anymore. Like, I'm not gonna fall in line with this like idea that we have to fight all the time. I'm not gonna like do this thing. I'm not gonna go talk to Akito. Like, I'm just gonna put up with this. And I feel like Akito, we were talking about how Yuki like gets things now. I feel like Kyo, after this most recent realization, he like gets it now a little bit, at least. He's closer to getting it.
Yeah. But he kind of says like, he's obviously still got more shit to deal with, but like after that scene with Akito, he says like, I just don't care anymore, with a smile on his face. So like, he's at least, I think, let go some of the family expectations and restrictions and stuff that he's been living with.
Like, I think he's resigned to maybe being confined, but then but he's like, well, I'm not going to let that bother me until then. Like, I'm just going to try to enjoy this time now and spend more time with Tohru now until I have to be confined. Like, he actually said, until the day that I get locked away, I want to spend time with you or whatever. He acknowledged that he's, I don't know. And he also, it doesn't seem like he really understood the relationship the other jyuunishi had with Akito until now. Because he's like, I get that you were all trying to protect her.
Yeah.
Like, as if he said, like, at first I was mad that you were all leaving her, and then I didn't really understand, and then now he gets it. So everyone's growing up. Yep. Getting rid of their beach. They're all getting rid of their, like their expectations that they've had all this time until these most recent chapters. That Akito has shaken up, despite what Akito thinks Akito is doing.
Yeah.
Is there anything else to say about Momiji and how great he is? I mean, I like how he just stands in front of the gate and like physically blocks Akito from going in.
Like how he tries to just stand up to Akito and like protect her there. I also like how you can see him like leaving, like during the confrontation. You can see him like look like really like scared and freaked out when Akito's first like confronting Tohru, and then you can see him running off to go and get somebody.
Yeah, he stands behind her. You can see her standing behind her, freaking out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can see him run off.
Yeah, and I love how like when he comes back, he tries to apologize. Like he felt like he let her down. Like he didn't. Like there's a big theme of like protecting people in these chapters.
Yeah.
And he was trying to protect her, and he obviously feels like he didn't.
Yes, I think this is a wonderful message, actually. In this, there's this thing that Momiji says, and then also what Yuki and Kyo and Haru are saying afterward, where Kyo is like, I want to protect her, but like I feel like shitty because I can't, and like Yuki and Haru are talking about the same thing, and Momiji saying like trying to apologize, and then he just gets upset. Yeah, you never know. I don't know. I feel like when bad things happen, you never know how you're gonna react, and I feel like they're all like, I want to try my best, but I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can protect someone.
Yeah. It's like Haru says, protecting people isn't always easy.
Yes, yeah, as it turns out. But yeah, Momiji And Shigure is like, oh, Omiji did a good job. Yes, he did. He was able to like have the courage to first of all stand up to Akito and try to confront Akito. The way that his dialogue is in that scene is also really interesting, I found. Like, he's as if he's being hesitant when he talks. He's like, Akito, you're mad. Like, as if he's hesitating to say that you're mad. And then he says, he's like, when you're mad, you take it out on others. You can't take it out on her. So he actually, it's like the things that everybody wants to say.
Yeah.
And it's obviously really difficult for him. I think the way that it's been translated, or like the way that it's been kind of like written in this dialogue here, really clearly communicates how much of a struggle it is for him to just say those things to Akito. It actually clearly demonstrates the power that Akito has over everyone, especially Momiji.
Yeah. He's being very brave.
Yes, he's being very brave.
Yeah.
I think it comes through well in this dialogue, and then the way that he acts. Like, he's, like you said, he's still scared. When Tohru shows up, he's still scared behind her for quite a while. And then he runs off. And he feels, like, guilty about it, like he couldn't do anything after.
Yeah.
It's okay, Momiji. You don't have to protect everyone. It's fine.
Yeah. I also love the scene when Hiro asks why they both have bandages on their faces. And
yes.
And they just kind of like lie about like walking and falling and just kind of smiling together. It's sad and sweet.
It's very sad and sweet. It's a very charming smile. And I wonder why. I think I like how, first of all, Tohru kind of like covers up what happened. Tohru's the one who answers him. And like I find it interesting. Like, I wonder why she decided to lie. I guess she like doesn't want anybody to worry about them or worry about what happened. They're all worried about her in the first place, about her being alone and stuff. So I can imagine that she's probably just like, this is just between like me and Momiji.
Yeah. And I like how then you can see like Kyo and Yuki reacting but not saying anything.
Yeah.
Like, because they were aware of what happened.
And
or
I
at
assume
least
Haru
somewhat
too.
aware of what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell how much they saw, but I'm pretty sure they saw like everything based on what they said, because they're like, Haru's like, see, I told you Momiji would go get the adults, like as if they were watching the whole time.
Yeah. And which is another display of, you know, the power Akito has, because they were all watching this happen but didn't feel like they could do anything.
Yes. Is that everything we can say about Momiji and how great he is? Not that I want to stop this topic, but I really want to talk about the scene with Shigure and Akito that was preceding this one, because I find that to be really interesting too. It's the only reason why I want to move on from Momiji. He's great. I think this is a great turning point for Momiji. I think we're going to see something different next time we see Momiji. I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. And
I'm excited about it. And I can say that because I don't, even though we've read this before, I can't remember what he does next. So it'll be, I remember other things that happen, but I'm not sure what happens next. So it'll be interesting to see what he's like when the next time we see him, I think.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Okay. Shigure and Akito, can we talk about it?
All right.
Is it time to go there? I guess like the scene with Shigure and Akito is really interesting. They have this like argument, and then like you can see Kureno on the phone in the background, and he comes in and says that something happened to the main house and that's why they have to go. But then Akito immediately leaves and goes to find Tohru. So I think that it's implied there's something that happened in that conversation that's kind of unspoken, that was like Akito reacting to something that Shigure did or whatever that has to do with Tohru, I guess.
Yeah, there's definitely seems to be a straight cause and effect between this argument and whatever the phone call was about and him deciding to go torment Tohru.
Yeah, basically, yes. Gotta take care of things. It's Akito's way.
Yeah.
I like how they're kind of like, Akito is like back, no, they're not back to back, but Akito's back is to Shigure. As if Akito like doesn't care. Your body language is so interesting. Yeah,
contrasted to how we've seen Akito like draped all over everyone else,
including Kureno at the end of the scene with Tohru.
Yeah, and at the start it's almost kind of backwards, because like the way Shigure is posed with kind of his elbow propped up on the wall is like a little bit more like he's crowding Akito rather than the other way around.
Yes. And then when they start to argue, it's interesting how Akito, at one point Akito like turns around when Akito starts attacking Shigure and is like, you revolt me, you're not nice to me or whatever, and kind of like stands up on his knees so that he's a little bit more above Shigure, which I thought was interesting. It's not like that had to happen anyway. And Akito also starts to get scared in that scene too, and we saw Shigure's eyes being all dead inside like we've seen in some other scenes. I don't know if it was exactly the same, but it seemed very similar.
Little, like he seems like angry, like and you don't really see him being like directly angry in the scenes with Akito. He's mostly just kind of like being kind of like
scary.
And kind of like manipulative, but usually in a like buttering up kind of way.
Yes. Well, he's kind of like, oh, aren't I nice to you? I don't know what I did to deserve this in those scenes. Those are some of the things that he says. But in that one part, he's like super pissed off.
Yeah, he actually looks angry in those, like that scene, and then the panel where Akito first like touches his face and is he actually looks kind of pissed in those scenes, which is interesting.
It's very interesting. Also, Akito's hand is like shaking in that scene. I don't know if it's supposed to be from like fear or just like rage. It's funny, it's the same hand. I mean, of course, like I guess Akito's probably right-handed, but it's the same hand that it's the same way that maybe like Akito was gonna scratch Shigure's face or something as well. It seems like his hand is just like poised there.
Yeah, but there's kind of like a hesitation, like he doesn't fully like grab Shigure's face like it looks like he's going to. So
yeah, well, then he goes and takes that out on Tohru instead. It's also interesting, we almost never see Akito outside. I guess it's worth noting that Akito goes and changes and then goes out to like harass Tohru. It's so rare.
Yeah,
it's just their dynamic is so interesting. It's like Shigure is the only one who really is able to manipulate Akito that we've seen so far, even by so much as just like looking angry, you know.
Yeah.
The scene where, not to talk about it again, but the scene with Akito and Tohru is really interesting. It sets them up as being like these direct foils, which I think is something that's going to continue through the rest of the series. And it's really interesting that what happens is Akito is outside of the beach house where everyone else is inside. It kind of like it directly sets up a contrast between what Tohru is able to do to be able to bring people together and the way that Akito has to like call them to the place where Akito is to kind of like try to manipulate them and maintain things, keep things a certain way. So when you have Akito physically outside of that situation, and sets up an interesting power struggle between the two of them, I think.
Yeah, especially when we have like in that scene we have Akito directly call Tohru an outsider, but Akito's the one who started that scene
outside.
Like outside.
We was inside too. Yeah, they all were. Who's the outsider? Who's the one who's wrong here, Akito? I mean, Ashiguri would say.
Yeah. It's like framing doesn't lie.
It's true. It's like Chekhov's window. I mean, Chekhov's gate. You're like, no, stop talking about things that you don't understand. Yeah, I don't know. I never thought about that much. It's like I feel like I've thought many times about how Akito and Tohru are foils, but I think it's even in this very, very early scene of the two of them in a direct confrontation, the way that it happens is like, yeah, everyone else is inside and Tohru is protecting them while Akito is outside. Yeah.
I do love that panel too when Momiji first sees Akito outside. It's very
so good.
like
it's really creepy.
Yeah, it's like it's on a, like I called it a Dutch angle. I don't know if that counts for manga, but it's on a sharp, it's on a sharp angle all of a sudden.
I'd say it does.
It's like dark on the outside while Momiji's still in the light on the inside. It's just very setting up like, oh, things are about to go to shit again.
Yeah, basically. And you can't see their faces, and then when you can, like Akito's is terrifying. Also, it's so great how it's like a horror movie. Like Momiji's like having this, it's like set up as him having this kind of like childlike, innocence of looking at the fireworks and like, gently patting them and walking away, like getting excited for tomorrow. This is where I guess he's like decided the one that's going to be the front runner, which is the snake. Yes. And then walking away and then seeing Akito outside, like it's like the killer's outside. Like, yeah. It's that kind of feeling, right?
Cut the phone lines.
Yeah, basically. Akito's like, I'm in the house. And then the very next scene, Momiji's standing in front of Akito. Like, Momiji comes outside and starts to physically block Akito from going in, too, which is really great.
Yeah.
So good. Talked about it again. I'm sorry. Except I'm not, because it was great.
Yeah. Can I point out a thing I thought was cute?
Yes.
Is when Kyo was talking about how he used to do how he did fireworks with Shisho the one time, and then he asked Tohru if he said she's done it before with her mom, right? And she says yes, it was fun, and he smiles, which is kind of a callback to that earlier scene where he like prompted her into saying it was fun, and like encouraging her to keep talking about her mom.
Yes. Yeah, it was very sweet. And also just the fact that Shisho found out he never did fireworks, so he went out and bought them. It's like, oh, Shisho.
Yeah. I just imagine, I don't know how they sell fireworks in Japan, but I just imagine Shisho at like one of those like roadside fireworks stands.
I'll take all of them.
Yeah. And this one's where it's like, buy one, get 4 free. Like, what a deal.
He's like, great, I need to teach my like adopted son about how great fireworks are. This is perfect. It's always so sad. It's nice that it's like an interesting detail that Chikaya throws in right at that time to like bring them, the two of Kyo and Tohru, a little closer together, which is nice. I thought interesting thing was the scene at the end where Yuki and Kyo are like, I want to protect her. And it kind of reminded me of the Very Foolish Traveler scene. Like the first time where Momiji's like, when you close your eyes, Kyoyuki, when you close your eyes, what do you see? Kind of reminded me of that, how they have like this shared kind of like moment where they don't even know they're sharing it, but we do. And I thought it was nice. It was a nice callback to something, a nice like kind of a point of development that's related to that earlier part of the story.
Yeah, I just like the ending in general, where they're all just like,
it's great,
having a good time. And I like Yuki has a line where he says, "We've never all gotten together to have fun like this until now," which is like, I mean, they're family.
Yeah. But... and they all shared like such a, like a horrible burden that you think that like it would be like, let's all get together and have fun. It's like, have like family fun trips and shit. But no, Akito keeps things purposefully not fun. That's the point. Akito's like, everything has to be exactly this way. We can't have fun. We can't like do things that are different and fun.
Can't bond with each other. Only bond to me.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And so like until like Tohru came along, they, not only didn't have much like contact with the outside world, but they didn't seem to have much of a relationship with each other.
Yeah, I think Akito purposely isolated all of them from each other, just like Akito tries to isolate Kureno from them now. They're all like, where's Kureno? Who's Kureno? Why'd you bring Kureno? What's he doing here? And like the way that Yuki was isolated, we saw, and then the way that even like basically Akito also set up things to isolate them, to make them not like each other, like to think that the other kids are bad, like the way that they kind of manipulated Haru into we saw the scene earlier with like Haru thinking that Yuki, they all were comparing him to Yuki, and therefore he's the dumb cow and whatever, and like until they were able to meet, they couldn't like have that they couldn't have that connection. It was just like forced on them by other people, probably Akito, I would imagine, and others.
Yeah, and like enforcing the conflict between Yuki and Kyo.
Yeah, to the point where
yeah, and then even like the ones that did manage to get close together, like Hiro and Kisa, were, attempted to sabotage that.
Yeah, Akito made an attempt to get them apart, and even with other people as well. So like we saw, of course, with like most notably, I guess, with Tohru and Kana, to cut out other outsiders.
Yeah.
So, yes, some people say that the Soma family is a cult. I've seen people compare them to a cult, which I agree with.
Yeah.
This is typical cult leader behavior. Just like, no, we can only be together, and also you can only be with me. Like, it's even like, one step farther, I guess. But to try to control everything about their lives. One theme that I think that comes through in this chapter, I guess, is like, we talked about the kind of like theme or the idea of trying to protect someone or something, and it doesn't always work out the way that you intend. You can intend all you want, but it might not work out. And I think we saw that come through very strongly, of course, with like Momiji and Tohru and Kyo and Yuki and Haru talking about how they want to protect people, like protect Tohru, or Tohru wanting to protect them or protect their path that they're on. And then also we see that theme playing out, I think, with Akito wanting to protect their way of life by keeping others away, right? And then we can see the kind of like unintended consequences of that, and then we see the unintended consequences of people trying to, or whatever, like trying to protect Tohru not playing out as the jyuunishi who were thinking about that, anticipating, right? Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I also like how we have like, it starts with the like whole idea of like Yuki and Kyo and the others wanting to protect Tohru, and it ends kind of with Tohru wanting to protect all of them.
Yes. I always think it's interesting how Toru's like, I just want to give back to them the way they've given back to me, which is, I still wonder what they've done for her. Although now it's more and more obvious. Like, I think, especially characters like Yuki and Kyo, they're starting to get, like, especially Kyo recently is starting to get her to open up more and more about her mom and her experiences and trying to, I don't know, to help her. And the others as well. And maybe perhaps she thinks, like, I guess I'm thinking of, like, her relationship with like Haru, or someone who kind of helps her. I feel like Haru is the one who's like one of the people who's helped her the most with her things that are going on, like when she's worried about Yuki, then Haru goes and like talks to him, which is really funny and very charming. Yeah
Haru and Tohru have a kind of a cute low-key relationship.
They do.
Always in the background.
It's nice. Yeah, it's very sweet. Oh, there was a little callback to Rin in this chapter too, where Haru was like, yeah, protecting people's hard. And Yuki was like, it can't be. And then Haru's like, what? And he's like, never mind. Never mind what I said. So we didn't get to see any Rin, but we at least got a panel of her face. I mean, It's okay.
Got
She'll
an
be
angry
soon.
Rin glare.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of her signature look. It's her blue steel. I mean, that is a reference none of our listeners are going to get.
I took a picture of Bowie once where he was doing like an over the shoulder kind of like it looked like a smolder kind of look, and I was like showing people a picture. I was like, "Is Bowie doing his best blue steel?" And I don't think only half of the people made the joke that what I was talking about.
It's like I can't turn left. Is there any more Furuba stuff you want to talk about? I feel like for everything that happened, this is somehow a short episode. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm just so excited. I just love
kind of
it.
the culmination of everything we've been talking about
That's
the whole
true.
time. So it's just kind of like, so here's the
the
final
thing.
paragraph of my to prove my thesis statement from 3 pages ago.
Yeah, for the last 4 chapters, that was like, here's everything that's going to happen to the beach. Like, it's all gone down now. We're set up for the next half of the series. Tohru's going to break the curse. Tohru's determined to break the curse. And I don't know. Akito thinks everything's fine, but it is not fine as far as Akito's concerned.
Yep, everyone is poised to change.
Yeah. Isn't summer great, guys? Summer's so great. Especially when it lasts until fall. Yeah. Oh, I guess we could talk unrelated. We could talk about the trailer that just came out for the anime.
Which was mostly beach.
It was mostly beach. Yeah, that's reminded me of that. Guys, summer's coming in 2020. I mean, I guess summer comes every year, but it's not always the same.
Yes. Summer's come, probably next spring?
Yeah, probably. Summer in the manga, in our manga covers, it lasts until fall, but summer will come next spring.
Yeah. Appreciate the trailer though, because sometimes you're like, oh, season 2 coming eventually, and then you don't see anything, and you're like, are you sure?
Yeah, I felt so.
Do you have a season?
Do you have a season?
Do you really?
Do you really? It felt kind of random, but it was great. I mean, it was just like, I just woke up on like. First of all, I've been traveling a lot, so I was kind of brain dead, and I woke up super late on Saturday morning, and everybody was like, guys, and I was like, oh shit. Anyway, it's great. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff
we've never seen animated before, so that's exciting.
I think everything, almost everything,
pretty
probably.
much almost everything there.
And there's stuff that I don't think we've even talked about in our manga coverage yet, based on what I saw, which I guess we can't really talk about because that would be spoilery, but there's a lot of beach stuff, and there's like things that are coming from the future. It'll be interesting to see how they put it together, like if they've chosen some of those things. Maybe they're gonna like pull in some, things from future chapters or something. It'll be great. Which gives us something to talk about sometimes, because when everything's exactly the same, those episodes are not as good, I find.
Their episodes are good. Ours aren't.
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
No,
the episodes.
Like, that was a good adaptation.
Great.
There.
Yeah, it's just exactly what I expected. But yes, their episodes are wonderful, and then we're like, anyway, this thing happened. See you next time. Although now there'll be some time in between, so maybe it'll be more exciting to go
hopefully
back.
it won't be like the exact same chapters we're talking about week after week.
Yeah, when we were like had those dual things at the same time.
Yeah, that was so coincidental how many times that happened.
I think it was at least twice, and every time I was like, okay, we're ready to talk about this thing again. We just talked about it. For me and you, it would be like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. I think it was a little more spread out how we published them, but
yes,
for us, a lot of times it was like the exact same day.
Yeah, that's crazy. So yeah, anyway, I don't know. I don't have anything to say about it except it looks great, and I'm excited to see anything specific to say about it. I saw some people, there's some good, if you want to see like specific things, there's a bunch of posts on Tumblr where people are like, and this scene's from this part of the manga, this one's from this one. I was like, this is cool. I don't want to go into depth because...
Yeah, I was like, I only watched it once, so I'd have to watch it again to make any real commentary
so
on it.
But,
it is exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. That's the most important thing to take away.
It's exciting. It was pretty.
Yeah, it was nice. I'm excited. We have so much to look forward to in spring. And by spring, we can look forward to summer.
We mean summer.
Yeah.
It's always summer.
I'm glad we're on the same page with our bad jokes, summer jokes this time.
It's always summer and Stay Together podcast.
It is. Anyway, great. So let's wrap up for now. We'll go to spoilery discussion, I guess. Woo! Next time we're gonna be doing our mid-series special. Yay! Yeah, everybody submitted a bunch of people submitted questions. I'm really excited to answer them.
Supported by viewers like you.
Yeah, basically. Half of this content will be brought to you by viewers like you. That's for sure. But yeah, and then after that, we're going back to school. It won't be summer anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I guess. So yeah, as always, you can send us other questions that are not related to the mid-series special. You can always send us stuff, and You can always rate and review and subscribe on the podcasting of your choice, including Google Podcasts. And thank you for listening. As much as we like to tease you about that collectively as an audience, half our listeners just stop listening to us. Like, this is the final straw. I can't take it anymore. How dare they make insulting jokes at my expense? Anyway.
Don't worry, we make way more jokes at our own expense.
Oh, we definitely do. I'd be happy to do that. Okay, thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Beach. I guess we can still talk about the beach next time because it'll be the special.
Yeah.
You ready to talk about spoilers now?
So ready.
Okay, good. Do you wanna kick us off? I just like it when you do.
Sure. I want to talk about the Momiji and Kyo scene again.
Yeah, that's right, you do. That's my very first note.
My first note too.
Yes.
Because it's very similar to the later conversation they have where Momiji basically tries to kick Kyo's ass into gear about the whole Tohru thing.
Yes.
Basically just the same, like, really, that's great. Would you be mad if I said that? Kind of thing. Yeah.
That's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're totally right. He's like, what if I said I liked her? Mm-hmm. Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I mean, obviously, and I think it's interesting, there's, if you were a Momiji Tohru shipper, this is your chapter. This is a chapter you've been waiting for, I feel like.
Yeah.
They're like little when they lie, when they cover up being abused by Akito.
Yeah.
Their little look that they share is like so intimate in a way, right?
Yeah, it's very sweet. You can crop that out and make it a shippy icon very easily.
You definitely could, and I'm sure people have. I'm sure that's already the internet's full of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very sweet look that they have, and the way that she like smiles when he's sleeping and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like she recognizes how hard it was for him too.
Yeah, because like she touches the bandage on her own face, and then it kind of close ups on his bandage face and the tear in his eye, and then she kind of smiles.
Yeah, like you were looking out for us,
and
you tried.
Yeah,
good call out to the future. I'm excited, and of course, there's kind of a. I don't know. It's tricky. It's funny because we saw. I feel like I pointed out a couple of times earlier where Miji makes these kind of flirty little jokes with Tohru and stuff, but it hasn't happened in such a long time. And I was kind of like, I don't remember it being like that, but I guess it's just gonna come back later, maybe. But yeah,
I feel like this is kind of when his feelings start to change.
Yeah, maybe.
It's especially the scene when he's talking to Kyo when he says I can't help it, I just like Tohru so much.
Yes.
It seems like a very serious statement from him.
Yes.
He's not just being
facetious.
Friendly and silly about it.
No. And Kyo doesn't really pick up on that. But I was like, oh shit, he's saying it. Yes. And the way that he looks in those scenes, the way that he smiles and stuff, it has this very I didn't know how to describe it, so I just chose not to this time, but almost coy kind of look. I don't know. I'm gonna pick it up again and look. Yeah, he's like, I just can't help it, I like Tohru so much. Kind of looks away. His eyes are kind of half closed. He's really thinking of her fondly, I think. Kyo doesn't really seem to pick up on it. He's just like, yeah, I like her too. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, he couldn't even pick up on Hiro and Kisa, so he's not the best judge.
What's happening here? That scene is so good. He's like, I don't get it. Miji and Tohru Tohru was his rival. So good. Oh, I love Kyo and his... Yes. We're Kyo's super empathetic, but not in that way, I guess. Not in a romance. No. Not about romance. About romantic feelings, so... But yes, it's very charming. You can see how they kind of have the same kind of... We know that Kyo likes Tohru now, and then you can see they kind of have really similar expressions, so... Yes. It's happening.
Yeah.
I really enjoy their love triangle. I know it's Momiji gets shafted at the end, but...
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I like it because, it's a low-key kind of love triangle.
Yes.
And, it never gets into like the kind of annoying love triangle tropes.
Yes.
So
Neither does
it's sweet, yeah.
So like we have this big misdirect, I think, still. Like we don't have Yuki hasn't fully expressed his feelings that Tohru is like his mother, or like someone that he feels like familial affection for rather than like romantic affection for. That hasn't fully come to the fore yet. So right now we're actually in a situation where we have this like sort of misdirection love triangle is being set up between the three of them. And so that also plays out in a way that's not super heavy-handed, I think.
Yeah.
It's really like Yuki struggling with his. It's like Yuki struggling by himself.
It's like Kyo and Yuki hate each other, but it's not because they're rivals in love.
No,
it's because of.
It's because they're rivals in Zodiac. I mean,
it's because of years and years of familial abuse.
Yes. Ah ha ha ha. Yes, it's wonderful. And
Yuki's like, it's like, can't you see? Akito always sets us against each other. Akito always said that was your fault.
Yes, exactly. And also, I don't think Tohru ever has any kind of like romantic feelings toward Yuki. I mean, like there's these moments that they have where like she's like, wow, he like gave me attention essentially. But I think like at this point, her sights are probably set on Kyo. It's not quite obvious yet, but the way that she kind of like opens up to him and nobody else has really been established at this point. So it's like this weird, like it's set up as a love triangle, but really what's happening is that Kyo and Tohru are developing their feelings and Yuki on the side is like dealing with his own shit. Yeah. So it's like not even, it's set up that way, but it's not really a love triangle, I would say.
Yeah.
I think Momiji and Tohru have some moments later where she has to kind of like acknowledge his feelings a little bit. So there are some kind of triangle-y moments, but not that many. It's like much.
Yeah, I think she has like. Yeah, like she and Kyo rather.
Yeah,
she and Kyo have just kind of they establish a pretty deep connection fairly early on. So it's just like it's hard to break that.
Yes.
Apart, like that's just kind of.
Yeah.
Established early on, but I think she's kind of at some point like aware and flustered of other people's affections, including Momiji.
Yes. Yeah. Especially, she's set up as being kind of oblivious to that. Like the whole scene where Kyo punches the wall above her, the guys are like being dicks in the background and talking about her, and she's completely oblivious to that and some other things that happen. I think, but yes,
yeah, I think she has moments where it's like if she and Kyo didn't have this already established deep connection, she could be feeling like, oh my. Kind of things.
The vapors.
She kind of has like a heart fluttery, blushy reaction to some things, but
she like hits her head on the stairs when Yuki's like, "I'll kidnap you," or whatever, in that one scene. But yes, at this point, I think their relationship they're kind of like the depth of their relationship is just beyond friends. Like they're very comfortable with each other. Yeah, we saw in all these scenes, even before the beach, like when they went to shows and stuff too. So. Yeah, ships. Yeah, it's a shoujo we were promised.
Yeah.
Romance. Comedy, question mark? It's not your ordinary family curse. Other spoilers, other than the romance.
Actually, I wrote something down as a spoiler, but then I forgot it was like immediately established in the next chapter. It's where Tohru is like starts talking about like I want to do something more for them.
Yes.
But then the very next chapter it goes into I want to break the curse.
You're like,
I just thought it was kind of funny how she's like thinking of that before she even gets like the full detail. It's like, oh, you'll do something.
Yeah, don't worry about it. It's gonna happen. Although she doesn't. I mean, she kind of like is a catalyst, but really the person who breaks the curse is Akito. I would say.
Yeah.
So. I was gonna say actually one thing we can talk about with Momiji that's not shippy is that do you think that this is the time because he's one of the characters for whom the curse breaks earlier? Do you think that this like I feel like the scene where he stands up to Akito starts to establish that actually or somehow kind of trigger that?
Yeah. It's actually it winds up being a very similar scene actually, but kind of with the roles reversed to after his curse breaks and Akito comes to confront him.
Yes.
Because it's like Momiji is like, inside his house and Akito comes. So they're in the same like physical positions, but Momiji stays higher than Akito. Like he stays on the porch. And Akito's the one who's like kind
begging him.
Breaking down and begging. Yes. And Momiji's just very cold and like, I need to think about this. I'll talk to you later. Basically.
Yeah, basically. So good.
But he's still very civil with Akito, which is like really,
That says something, yes, for sure.
Yeah, it's very like Momiji is very, very mature.
He's the most adult of all of them.
Yeah.
There's that really funny line where Shigure is like, oh, compared to him, those young kids, and Tori's like, you mean compared to us adults? Like, so good.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is great. Tori knows what's what.
Yeah.
Like, as if even they can't stand up to Akito. But yeah, in that scene, Momiji has all the cards, and Akito is like begging him. It's wonderful.
Yeah. All three, they have like three big like interactions in the series, and they're all very interesting, and they're all kind of similar. Like,
what is the third one? Or
like
is that one the third one?
The last one is like after everything's end. Like when Tohru's in the hospital.
Oh, Momiji tells him the very foolish traveler story. Yeah, or tells her the very foolish traveler story.
Yeah, but it's kind of the same thing with like Momiji actually, like reaching out and talking to Akito like a human being, like trying to be.
Yeah, Momiji is the one who's in control of their relationship.
Yeah.
Basically from this point on, I think, actually. So it's cool.
Yeah, and like even in this scene, he has way more control than like a lot of the characters when they're talking with Akito. Like, he's obviously terrified, but he's saying things to Akito that most of them wouldn't dare. So
even like Kyo. Like, we saw a couple, I guess last episode, the scenes with Kyo where he's like, I couldn't stand up to Akito. Akito knows how to manipulate him just as easily as everybody else. Even more so, maybe. Some of them. So
yeah, I do think Akito's like more like on the nose with Kyo's insecurities versus everyone else's. Like, because we talked about like how like whatever he's talking to Yuki about this time, Yuki's like, no, I'm not really buying that anymore. But
well, Kyo still buys it, I guess, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
Kyo was like, I killed my mother. Like, I was responsible. Akito was like, you're a monster, and Kyo's like, I am though. Like, that's
yeah.
And like my mother wouldn't acknowledge it, but at least but Tohru will. So at least there's that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, Kyo's insecurities that Akito picks out are actually his insecurities, as opposed to somebody like Yuki or like Haru, where those things were like manufactured by Akito, essentially.
Yeah. Like, they used to be the insecurities, mostly because of Akito. Yes. But they're kind of growing past that.
Yeah, it's not true anymore. Akito was like, oh, the big dumb ox, and Haru was like, don't say that, basically. Yeah.
Do you think it's kind of a consequence of Akito not spending that much time around Kyo? Like, he, built up the insecurities of the others kind of himself. Like, but Kyo's are like the actual insecurities he just kind of naturally developed from
living a tragic life.
Terrible life.
Yes. But it's like Akito didn't have to. Like, those things, Akito can use them to manipulate Kyo.
Yeah, Akito didn't make those up out of nothing. They are there.
Yes, for sure. And Akito, I think, has probably used those things on Kyo's dad too, which also causes some strife. So
yeah,
it's one way to describe it, I guess.
Strife.
Yeah.
The only other thing is more stuff about Ren.
Yeah. Yeah, they mentioned Ren.
Yep.
Yes, Shigure mentioned Ren last time and also this time. And I actually think the thing that really set Akito off was Ren, not Tohru. Of course, like, we can talk about the scene with Shigure and Akito again, which is so... I was like, this is a really interesting argument. Like, they have this crazy argument where it's like super vague, and Akito is like, be nicer, and Shigure is like, I'm being nice. And then they mentioned Ren, and then Shigure is like, oh, such suspicion? Like, why do I deserve this treatment? You know why you deserve this treatment. Like, which I thought was also really great.
Yeah.
Yes.
But Ren is obviously being connected to Tohru in Akito's mind here. I think in the whole, like, trying to break down Akito's,
big power,
ideal happiness kind of thing, that the future that Akito wants, because we get kind of a foreshadowing of the whole thing with Ren where Akito says, like, who does she think the head of the family is?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. It was good. This is why we have the spoiler section, so we can talk about these things. Yes, it seems to all be connected to Tohru, but I think it's all based on like this whatever happened with Ren at the house or whatever. I wonder if we'll ever actually get to see what it was that happened, but I don't remember. To be honest, like, I don't remember that much about Ren. I know that Ren is this like source of issues for Akito, and that Shigure used that to manipulate Akito, and so that'll be interesting to play out again.
Yeah, I know there's something about like how Ren kind of has her own little following
in the family.
Yeah, in the family, about like as sort of conflict to Akito as, you know, the unmatched head of the family kind of thing. There's some like Ren followers, quote unquote.
The cult of Ren, would you say?
Yes.
Yeah, and they had this like really weird sort of like Akito's father like favored Akito, I guess, and kind of like groomed Akito to be the head of the family. And I guess like Ren felt like Akito's father's attention was taken away from her.
Yeah, Ren was like threatened by Akito.
Basically. Yeah, so it was super weird, like.
And it turned out like Akito was threatened by Ren in the same way, because like I know like one of her father's dying words was that like, oh, having God as a child means our love was so great or something.
Yeah.
Which means that like part of all the affection he had for Akito was because he thought it like proved how like wonderful his relationship with Ren was.
Yeah. Yes. They have this weird shared insecurity.
Yeah.
And then like I think it also shows in how they argue over, they have like the whatever Akito's like box that contained like Akira's soul or whatever, or something. They lied to say like, it's fine, he's in this box, no big deal, when Akito was a child. And then it kind of set up this crazy argument between the Ren and Akito. So anyway.
Yeah, because they both believed that.
Yeah, it's so weird.
So which is it's
yeah. Anyway, I mean, whatever. It's not the weirdest thing in the story, though.
No, but yeah, Akito's
it's fucked up. Let's say, yeah, basically, Akito. There's nothing at this point. Akito, I think it's nice that you called out that we can see Akito's insecurities coming through, even though Akito's displaying it with this like crazy display of abuse of power. But like, Akito has just as much. You know, we have just as much reason to feel sympathetic toward Akito as we do as everybody else. It just hasn't really happened yet.
Yeah. But these chapters do a really good job of laying the groundwork for
I think so.
Like when it comes and you look back at these chapters, you're like, oh I can see all of that like building and laying like starting here. So
yes, and I still think it's interesting how Shigure is the only one who really has this like kind of control over Akito. Like the way that Akito's hands shake, I wonder if it's because Akito is afraid or because Akito's really angry in that one scene where they argue. Yeah. Hard to tell.
I think that look from Shigure like freaked her the hell out, because
she has
a whole thing about she has a whole thing with like we see it in like the scenes like in like the scene with Momiji after his curse breaks, talking about like looking at me with like unfeeling eyes or whatever she says about like
that's true, you're right, it's kind of a thing that Akito has. I guess we can like start to maybe tease that apart as a theme or something later, but it's like this weird like she's like, you don't look at me the way that you used to. Because Akito's just terrified of like losing that like insured love and affection, quote unquote, that comes from the bond. And so yes, that quote unquote insured by like by abuse bond that they have. So far Akito's been set up as this like being that has control over all the jyuunishi, but it turns out that there's even things that even Akito is afraid of. So
it is neat to see that, because we've always seen Akito as just a figure of like power and fear for everyone for the most part up until now. But
yes,
we're starting to see that power falling apart and starting to see the insecurities that Akito has breaking through. So
yes, and I think it's pretty clear at this point that like we talked about it in the non-spoilers, that Tohru and Akito are set up as like, you know, being really strong foils in this series of the way that they interact with the characters and kind of like create that circle of the others around them. Yeah. And then that's basically the reason that's causing Akito to kind of lose that grasp on everyone. So that's also exciting. Yeah. Can't wait till like Tohru starts to work with Rin to break the curse. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. And also, like I mentioned it like briefly in the non-spoilers, but Tohru kind of acknowledging that Akito is bound by the curse also. Which is, I think, will kind of lead to like obviously Tohru extending a hand to Akito is a lot of what helps fix everything at the end.
It's going to lead up to their confrontation later, which is another great scene. I don't think that they see each other other than those times. This time now, this confrontation, and that time, probably.
Yeah, they might not,
because it's Akito and Tohru meet when Tohru pushes Akito away from Yuki. And then this time at the beach, and then I think it's going to be at the end. I think that's it. Yeah. I don't think she goes back to the main house, but she does to go and sneak and give Kureno the DVD, which is one of my favorite parts. It's very charming. But so she does go back to the main house, but I don't think she's going to see Akito again until then. So
Yeah, I don't think so. Not directly. I think she gets more like she learns more about Akito, but
probably she tries to ask Shigure about the curse, which is a mistake.
Yeah, I like that. Is that the? I was gonna say I like that scene, but I can't remember if it's around when Shigure is kind of vulnerable with Tohru. In the moment, it's just like that one where he's like, maybe I should have been like putting my hopes in you or something. Like I can't remember what exactly it is, but that's a really good scene.
I just remember like the end where so in my mind what happens in this scene is that Rin and Shigure are talking, and Tohru like kind of walks around the corner because she's coming to see Rin, I guess, at the dojo or at Chicho's house, and Shigure is like, oh, the curse will eventually break, and Rin is like, yeah, it'll eventually break, and Toru's like, that's not soon enough, and then they're like, what? And she's like, oh shit, because she realized that she's like, that's not soon enough, like Kyo, and she starts to think about Kyo, and they're like, Kyo.
Yeah, that's a different scene than I'm thinking of.
That's the one that I was
also
thinking
a good
of.
one. Yeah,
yeah, because Shigure comes and like talks to her after, I think, or something like. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
It's a good one
too. When she like actually gets like angry at him.
Yes.
Yeah, that one's.
So many good. It's like those are all the good parts. Anyway, it's coming. It's gonna be a good time. There's more. I mean, there's other good things, but
yeah, I like
on that
Shigure's
storyline.
Like relationship with Tohru is very interesting.
It's very
as
interesting.
The series goes along. Yeah,
it changes a lot.
Yeah, like I think he
story.
does genuinely feel kind of guilty about like getting her all involved in this, and it actually comes out a couple times in his like the way he like talks about her and to her. So.
Yes, he does say that. He said it before, like we already saw it when he was talking to Tori that one time.
Yeah.
And I think you're right that in that there's other times where he's like kind of vulnerable to her, but he like kind of actively avoids it. I think he's kind of like right in the sense that I can't remember exactly what he says, so like I don't know if this is also just conjecture on my part, but I think he's kind of like, if I get close to her, then like I don't know, like he'll feel bad about using her to start to enact what he thinks.
Like,
so.
Yeah, and I think he knows that, like he talks about like just he holds his goals above everything else, and so like he tries not to think too much about what's getting hurt on the way.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. Yeah, he's an interesting character. He's a good bad guy.
Yeah.
Or a bad good guy? Question mark.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to tell.
Why am I so bad at being good?
You're like, but I'm so good at being bad. Okay, are there any other spoilers that we need to talk about? I don't think
that's
so.
all I have.
Good. Great. Well, I think that's enough for now then. So next time we're going to be talking about our kind of like summary of everything that happened so far. So if this wasn't enough beach for you, there's still some beach time left. Just a little bit.
Limited time off.
Yeah. One more beach week for free. So thank you all for listening. We will see you next time for our mid-series special.
Bye-bye.
Bye.